I think if people took more time, I guess, to be just more intentional, I don't think it's a big ask in tweaking a little bit of how they move, of what they're reading, of how they respond to things, you know, like what they're watching. And I think that's what changes shit for real, for real.
The stories we see about ourselves have the power to shape our future. In this series, we'll honor some of the most groundbreaking moments of queer Latine representation in TV and film. Moments that grounded us in history, made us feel seen, and humanized our existence in front of and behind the camera. Join us in uplifting the images, the artists, the stories, the visions of us. Transgender people have been utilizing their visibility as tools in the fight for queer liberation. Even before Sylvia Rivera, a trans activist marched alongside Marsha P. Johnson. Decades later, through the mediums of film and television, trans and non-binary Latine artists would continue this fight. In their own unique ways, of course.
I gotta ask you something serious. You think I pass? With the best of them?
None of these girls can hold a candle to you. Angel, you're the prettiest thing I've ever seen.
You Dominicans got a slick tongue.
Pose did a lot for me. Pose for sure did a lot for me. And I think Pose did so much for so many other people.
Wow. This is what it might mean to tell everybody to sit down and finally center like trans folk. And when I say everybody, I mean everybody in the LGBTQIA+ community.
It's incredible to be at the center of creating content that uplifts a community. The casting process on Pose was remarkable. It was really incredible. So we only had 3 trans women originally, Blanca, Angel, and Electra. And we met with all these incredible women who happened to be having a trans experience and sitting and just talking to them about their lives and what they wanted to accomplish, not just with their art and with their voices, but by being a vessel to tell this story through the show. And we fell in love with all of them.
So beautiful to see a cast of Black trans women exchanging and loving on each other and existing in space and growing, you know.
As a whole, the series became a family drama. It became a story about love and resilience and showing up for one another. And so it was in that process that I then found Blanca, because I think then at that point, I realized that Blanca, for me, really is a way of honoring and saying thank you to every single woman who ever co-parented me. You know, Blanca may be a, you know, trans Afro-Latina, but the reality is that she's every woman. You know, I think that's the reason why people love her so much and why she's so universal.
When the first episode of Pose came out and I saw MJ Rodriguez and India Moore, I was like, oh, wow. For the first time, right? You have these 2 folk on screen who are Black, Latin American, Caribbean, trans, and really there for each other in a tender way, and also in a way that doesn't negotiate with anything else but their livelihoods. It felt incredible.
Pose first came out, I went fucking crazy. And then India, more so than MJ, but have been in space with both of them, ended up becoming somebody that really shaped a lot of shit for me. And just like every exchange, I feel like they carry so much. And to see that translated on screen in both characters is just so powerful.
The greatest lesson I took away from the Pose casting process was that there is an abundance of incredible trans talent out in the world. And what the community needs is for someone to invest in that talent, for someone to say, you are absolutely worthy, and to provide an incredible opportunity for all of those incredible gifts to shine.
The first time I watched Pose, I went fucking crazy. I went so crazy that I let a bunch of baby gays move into my house and tried to do the whole house mother shit. But I was like, I'm Mother Blanca. Like, I'm finna get to it. Like, I had everybody in school, had everybody with jobs. I was on it. I was very much on it.
The show is all about, it's my way of telling trans people and queer people of color that you are loved, you are worthy, I see you, you deserve to take up space unapologetically, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
All right, next to her is the incomparable Jennifer Lopez is with us, and honey, I got your rider.
Yeah, compliment question.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Let me tell you something. This is the biggest secret in the drag world, is the fact that trans women are so stunning. The trans, I guess, glamour and just the illusion of that high glamour is something that was extremely desired and something that was extremely loved in the club scene for so long. There was always sort of like this competition between drag queens who are cis men and trans women who perform in the drag show. There was always like this sort of like, you know, little competition. And so when I came out on the scene and I started performing, I was coached and embraced by all of the beautiful trans showgirls. That was my calling, because that was what I was most attracted to. The audacity to go on stage and put together a show and live in their truth and exude that power. I'm a fan, #1 fan.
So Carmen Carrera first entered the media sphere from her appearance on RuPaul's Drag Race. She was one of a very fan favorite. And one of the things that I think we don't often talk about, but we should, is that Carmen Carrera in so many ways was an honest to goodness groundbreaker.
When I did Drag Race, I wanted to represent that female power and that, you know, that lane that exists in the drag show, but that's not talked about. It's always kept a secret for some reason, you know, and you're giving that showgirl power that really only a trans woman can hold, because it just, we're in our own lane, you know, without the fear and without the, you know, pushback from the world. Like, we just want to be in our power. We just want to be in our light. And so I was able to take all of that passion and I was able to put that on a higher platform for more visibility, because there's a lot more women like us. So many more women like us.
I remember the first time I saw the clip of Carmen walking the runway, and I was in awe. I mean, Carmen's one of those people that you like meet and you're like nervous, because you're like, oh my gosh, she's so pretty, and like she's got this like aura about her.
Carmen Carrera.
Hey, hey. So when I started performing in drag, I wanted to give that illusion. I wasn't ready to transition just yet, but I wanted to give that essence and that female like vibe, because I always felt like that as a little kid. I always was like, wanted to be like the J-Lo or the Selena, or like, you know, I remember performing in front of like my court as a kid on my porch. Like, I was always wanting to be that. And so I had that opportunity in the drag show. So growing up, I was just exposed to the Maury show and like these sensationalized ideas of, you know, who trans people were as like a deception, you know, especially the Jerry Springer show. It almost made it okay and almost like you expected people to commit like acts of violence against trans people. So in my youth, I would say that I wasn't 100% sure of who I was. And the lack of representation on television made it worse, made me feel more lost and confused, because I couldn't even figure it out. And, you know, once I realized who I was, maybe in my early 20s, you know, me personally, I had this ambition to prove these people wrong, to show them what a trans, you know, person can be, what a trans person can accomplish, and how much a trans person can love.
She is if you've ever seen Carmen Carrera on camera, there's nothing like it. And I think we don't spend enough time talking about that or talking about the fact that she was, for many people, the first public trans Latina that they knew. Because so much has already changed, even just in a decade from when we first got to know her.
You know, like for me, it's just about being a human being and being able to take my humanity and my story and turn it into something that could create change.
There was a push, there was a change.org petition to make Carmen Carrera a Victoria's Secret angel. And it got over 40,000 signatures. Of course, she did not ever get to walk the Victoria's Secret runway. But I think even in not being able to walk the Victoria's Secret runway, what that did was it changed how we talked about models and how we talked about beauty. We understand that beauty for women means all women. And I believe that transition, that change in conversation is directly out of that moment. It is directly out of the petition for Carmen to be able to walk as an angel.
So I think for me, my driving force was always like, I need to get my story out there. Even though I knew that it was a huge risk, I feel like I didn't care. I was willing to put my life and my story on the line because I knew that it was something that needed to be done. And so it was a sacrifice that I made for my community and just for people to be able to see that we do have genuine love, we do have real love, and we do have purity in there. And it just gets overshadowed by other people's judgment and our reaction to it.
You okay?
Did you hear what that lady said to me at the bakery?
About our kids? Yeah.
She thought we were straight, Jake.
So she thought we were straight.
You're excited.
No, I'm not.
You're passing and you're excited.
What's wrong with that?
I swear to God, if you started on your gender as a construct speech right now, I will throw this cake at you.
Look, all I'm saying is we know we're queer. No one's taking that from us.
There's that thing that I don't know if writers say, that artists say, I've just heard it throughout my life, where the more specific you get, the more universal you get. And I just want to live by that in my art and the things that I'm a part of, is that the more I pull from my own stories and the more of myself and then the people around me, the more that it's relatable. And I think that the industry doesn't see it that way, or maybe they just see it in a really misconstrued way where it's, it ends up being one color or one gender, like, the face front of these stories, but it's like none of that is true. This is really what it is. And it's a ton of color. It's a ton of just difference. And I want that in the industry, and I want that to be amplified, and I want that to just be shown and it not be this like phenomenon.
In the last 8 years, there's been an increase in representation, specifically in trans representation, Black and brown trans representation. I think that the stories are starting, because they're allowing trans folks into the writing rooms, the stories are starting to sound and look more authentic.
I think that moving forward, Hollywood, the media, any form of cultural production needs to understand that trans folk are not just gonna stop existing, right? And therefore, trans folk need to be accounted for at all times.
I think it's important for trans people to be forefronted. You exist here in a very specific space that I've put you in. And I feel like that happens because it's not trans people doing the writing.
I think it's crucial to see ourselves represented authentically in television and film, because it's the way in which we have a mirror to see ourselves reflected back to us. I would encourage and challenge people to realize that any character could be any gender. Trans, intersex, cis, we need to just realize that, a trans person can be a superhero, in a movie. And I think people are ready for that too.
It's like we can talk about representation all day long. We can do it. We can say it's important, but unless it's there, unless I'm seeing it, it doesn't mean anything. And I think the people that just talk about it think that it's like this cool, quirky, like 21st century thing of the now that we should just do because this is the wave. But it just means so much more when, you know, because like, those same people who think it's a wave are those same people that have seen themselves over and over and over again and have no problem imagining themselves being superheroes, being villains, being things that are completely outside of themselves. And they see it every day. They see it all the time because, you know, we live in a world that it has, that allows for that. And so anyway, when we get these bursts of queer moments, of just like any marginalized representation, it just hits different.
Life is big. Life is diverse. Our society is extremely diverse. So what we want to see on TV and film is kind of a reflection of that. And we haven't really seen much of it. It's always been this very cookie cutter thing. I don't know if it may have been to protect the citizens from what is real, but I think that we're in an age right now where we're kind of flipping that all on its head. We're in an age of information where everyone wants to know the truth and they want to see the truth.
I do believe there's a revolution, a cultural revolution happening right now in film and TV. I think we are primed for there to be an explosion of more trans, more queer, more non-binary, more intersex people in the next few years.
At the end of the day, it's strictly important to tell these stories, queer, Latinx stories, because they exist. And to continue to live in these worlds and these conservative mindsets that they don't is so odd. And you miss out on so much when you have such a narrow view of things. And queerness it's cool. It's so cool. Like, it's so freeing. And so then, I don't know, to be queer, to be Latinx, to just be, why would you not want that at your table?